I'll make a motion to enter public session.
Second. Oh, sorry, John can do that one. I'll make a motion to enter executive session.
I'll second.
Second that one. Oh, never mind.
All
All
in
right.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
All right, once you all leave, I will hit pause and then just let me know if you need us to join you.
Great. Thanks.
Need the information. I don't see Jeff. Is he back on?
Not yet.
When he does come back on, we're moving out of executive and back into public. Yes?
Maureen, can I just ask one question? I forwarded your invite to Melissa. For some reason, she's not able to get in. I don't know if you forwarded to her, whether that will work better.
Let me
Please.
see if I can add a participant. Is she
She
not
said-
in at all, Dan, or is she getting in as an attendee?
She said it's just circling, so maybe it's because attendee versus panelist or participant, I guess. That could be why. Sorry, folks.
All right, give me her email address, Dan.
M. Renkowitz,
RENKAWITZ.
you got it.
All right, I'm gonna resend her a reminder right now, Dan.
Okay, thanks, Maureen.
Think. All right, it says it was sent, so.
Don't forget to check your emails for the green sheet, guys.
Not muted. Oh, you are now.
When we do the green sheet, someone else should read it. Mine came in sideways and I cannot turn it. So unless I turn my computer sideways, it'd be difficult for me to read it.
Bill, I think you should read it like that.
Can you try resending that to the board so it's not sideways?
If she can, I was able to rotate mine. I could read it.
Courtney has a computer that's not 11 and a half years old, so she has that rotating option.
It's also a Mac, which I had to get used to, but things like that can be a little easier to handle.
Nice.
All right, so members of the public who are on the meeting, we are just waiting for the rest of the board members to return from executive session, and we will be starting shortly.
I could try to send that again too if you need. See what I can do here.
Dr. Long, Jeff's not in the other link, is he?
I didn't go into the other link, so I'm not sure. Oh, there he is.
Perfect.
I'm here. Just hiding in the back.
Did you want me to ask for a motion to re-enter into public session? Yeah.
Yeah, we need to adjourn executive session first.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to adjourn executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed? We are out of executive session.
And now a motion to re-enter public session.
I'll make a motion to re-enter public session.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right, before you do roll call, Jean, just for the members of the board, you should receive the green sheet via email. That will go on page 3 of the agenda
I got it.
under the treasurer's report. And then also on that same page, the last resolution on the page after 2020, 2021, if you would add the words school year. And now it's all yours, Jeff.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. We have gone to that. Let's see. Let's change the page. All right, we'll go along. We have roll call. Jean?
Okay, hello, everyone. Mr. Maslin,
Here.
Mr. Nevins,
Here,
Mrs. Wilson,
Present.
Mrs. Jaskula,
Here.
and Mr. Dyfendorfer.
I'm here.
Okay, we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll move along to comments from public on agenda items. Just a reminder for those members of the public in attendance, this is one of 2 opportunities afforded members of the public to comment on or inquire about agenda items. Members of the public also have an opportunity at the end of the evening's agenda to ask questions or voice concerns or comments on matters not formally noted on the agenda. And we do appreciate everyone's cooperation. Anything in the chat? Let's see.
Just a reminder, people can send them to boecomments@menands.org, boecomments@menands.org.
And I don't see anything, but I'll wait a minute. Chat. Okay, still nothing. Give it another 30 seconds and then we'll move along because we do have another opportunity at the end of the evening. Once again, that's boecomments@menands.org, boecomments@menands.org. Something, Dr. Long, or no? Okay. All right, we'll move along to the minutes. Any questions about the minutes or discussion? We go right to the resolution, please, then.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District accept the minutes of the May 10th, 2021 meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Resolution carries. We'll move along to business matters. We have a few discussion items. Do we want to do the green sheet first? Because that's under 10, right?
Nope, that's actually going to be under 10, but we will put it after the report with the other approvals.
Okay, we'll do it right after that. All right, so we have some discussion items for this evening. We have CSR Chair, Bernie Donegan, to discuss the buildings condition survey, the disaster recovery plan. It's been finalized, as well as the reopening of the plan. So we will be speaking about visitors into the building this evening.
Right, and I think Melissa is still having some difficulty getting on. So I am going to try to assist her with that. While I am doing that, I am going to turn it over to Dan Woodside. Again, in your board packet, you have 2 documents related to this first item. The first is the summary of the building condition survey that CS Arch did. And the second is the information from Jason at Bernie Donegan's office. Just keep in mind, this is an initial conversation of what comes next after just completing a building project and looking ahead to what we may need moving forward. So I'm going to turn it over to Dan and mute. And Dan, in the meantime, I will work on trying to get Melissa.
Thanks, Maureen. Good evening, everybody. Nice to see everyone. So the building condition survey, we were, Menands district was supposed to complete that building condition survey in 2020 and submit that to the state education department by March of 2021. We did that. And out of that came a summary, which you have in front of you. As a reminder, the building condition survey, those are completed every 5 years. This year is a little bit different with the state education department because they put people on a cycle, districts on a cycle that could run 6 or 7 years. So they spread them out over a longer period of time. The good news was actually that you were first in line so that we were able to do a lot of this planning and use it with you as a planning tool as you begin thinking about another project potentially down the road, as Jason, I'm sure will speak about when the best timing for that might be, but also to tackle as you go along if there are funds available to tackle some of the smaller items. The building condition survey really didn't change in terms of state ed's information that they put out to everybody. Still focused on health and safety items, structural items. So we certainly targeted those particular pieces and made sure that we spent extra time evaluating them. And what you have in front of you is essentially a summary of that work. And what you can see, and this is where I want Melissa, and she's on now, looks like, great, to be able to jump in. Thank you, Maureen. Be able to jump in is to talk about the different pieces of this and then answer any questions you might have. So, really, we're talking about major areas of pavement, electrical work on the site, the tennis courts still need updating, window replacements in areas of roofs that still require replacement, vinyl composition tile flooring replacement throughout the building in certain areas where it has not taken place so far. A bunch of doors in the original building, 42 of them, corridor doors, inner spaces like single toilet rooms, etc. Cast iron boilers, unit ventilators, lighting. So you tell us how you'd like to do this. If you've had a chance, hopefully, to review the document. If you'd like us to speak to any specific line item, we're certainly happy to do that, or we can go through every line item in great detail if you'd like that as well. So please let us know what you'd like to hear about here.
Dan, can I just quick ask, this is not in any order of necessity, right?
Nope, it goes by BCS number, actually, Bill. So on the left-hand side, I should have
Yeah, I don't know what a
described that.
BCS is. That didn't mean anything to me when I read it, but I didn't know if that was
That's the acronym for the Building Condition Survey.
even better, right? I love acronyms.
Yeah, so the Building Condition Survey number, so that aligns with the actual survey instrument that we fill out on your behalf and gets submitted to the state ed department. So all we did was draw out those numbers and put those on the summary for you, and they're in order of basically by BCS number.
And if these items were to be done, obviously roofs are important. I know that for buildings, right? And drains and things like that. But if we were not able to accomplish all of them, which ones would be easiest to get rid of?
Well, that would be a prioritization process we'd end up having to go through with you like we did last time during the pre-ref process. This is just the beginning. We would then take this and start developing a 5-year plan with you and order these in order of priority. So that would be an effort we would develop with you guys. I mean, I would say my recommendation is you want to keep the building dry first, right? So you want to attack those roof areas and then probably get into anything mechanical, especially if it's related to ventilation. So, the number 88 on that list, replacing the 2002 vintage unit ventilators. The trouble with attacking all those items, those are all the biggest ticket items also. So certainly it's not something you will do out of your maintenance budgets. You're going to likely have to do it as part of a capital project. And when the best timing is to do that will be something that you'll want to work with your financial advisor on, and Jason's on the line to talk about that too. So there are a few here though, Bill, that that are $5,000, $6,000, $9,000, as funds allow. There might be the opportunity to do some of those kinds of things. Also, you could take advantage of a $100,000 capital outlay project. I'm not sure if we've talked about those before, where you can basically do a up to $100,000 within a particular fiscal year. And then if the work gets completed and closed out, or when the work gets completed and closed out, the aid comes back the following year. You don't need to wait a full 15 years like you would in a normal project cycle. So there are a number of school districts that are taking advantage of that as well. Now, keep in mind, it comes back at your aid ratio too. So, I think you're at 70% or something like that, if I remember correctly. So, it'd be your building aid on that $100,000 capital project. One last detail on that, it's got to be $100,000 all in. So that's not just construction, but you need to take any soft costs with that as well, and cannot exceed $100,000 and can do one project per year. So it's a good mechanism to tackle some of these things. Does require voter approval, something you'd have to put up with your budget. And it does need to be pretty specific. We are advising districts that you want to tackle something fairly simple with this technique, because state ed isn't doing any better in terms of approving those quickly. So we can get into that amount of detail too, and that option if you want to hear more about that.
So you said one project in a year. Do you have districts doing this every third year or fourth year, or because if they find 2 or 3 things that would meet that threshold of 100,000, instead of doing a big laborious project, which, like you said, takes 15 years to get your aid back?
You can't combine years, Jeff. You can't take 2 or 3 years and make it 300, if that's what you're asking.
I was just saying, if you could do it, you could do different. You can only do it one shot. You have $100,000. Gotcha.
Yeah. And then if you get in a cycle each year, you can just keep doing that with your budget each year. If you've got a tough budget year, you just take it right out of the budget at that time.
Okay.
Right. The benefit of getting into them on an annual basis is, like Dan was saying, you get that building aid back the year after you spend it. So if you do them every year, you only have to do the heavy lift of getting that 100,000 local share into your budget one time. And then as you continue to do them, the aid comes back on the previous year's one. So now you're only paying, I think your current aid ratio is like 61% or something like that. So now you're only paying 39,000 a year instead of 100,000, versus if you do them every 3 years, then it's 100,000, 39,000, 100, 39,000. So that's the idea of trying to do them on an annual basis, is that then you can kind of do 100,000 work each year at only 39,000 of cost to the taxpayers.
Okay.
The only thing I would caution us of, and I know we're kind of headed down a rabbit hole here, but before we get off this topic, we want to make sure that, so the timing of this, and Jason has this kind of blocked out for you also, but the timing of a project like this is challenging, because if you voted on it in May of 21, for instance, what state ed says is to get the aid the following fiscal year, we have to have everything closed out by June 30th of 2022. But you can imagine in a school how challenging that is, because now you just voted on it in May of 21. We've got to have it designed, submitted to state ed, approved, and constructed in the summer of 21, which won't happen. So unless you can find something that can go on in the school that won't impact your ongoing operations, you're really challenged to wait till summer of 22 to actually do the construction. So that's why we say you'll get your aid back the year after you complete the work, because what we try to do is get people in a cycle of vote on it in 21, or let's say vote on it in 22 in your case. Let us get the project designed, submitted to state ed at a good time, get it out of state ed at a good time, and bid it likely in the winter of 22-23. construct it in 23 and get your aid back that following year. And then that gets you in that cycle year after year. You just have to realize that 1 year you're going to forego that aid, right, Jason? Did I describe that correctly?
Right. In the situation in which you were just explaining, you'd actually be 2 years where you would not get the aid because you're delaying the
Right.
aid. So it's that those first 2 years now you have the lift, but then now you can get, the benefits of the summer construction, like Dan was explaining, while getting the aid back every year going forward after those first 2 years, as long as you keep the projects in the budget.
So when I look at things like number 88, you mentioned that earlier, replacing your ventilators and stuff. And so wouldn't some of that qualify for monies that are coming through from some of the COVID monies that are coming through for HVAC systems and things that are being allowed to be addressed and funded?
And Jason and Dan, tell me if I'm wrong. Yes, Jeff, but there is a but, because there's always a but.
Yeah.
Then we use the COVID monies, we don't get our aid rate back. We pay full shot.
Gotcha. But I'm just wondering, like,
No.
if you get that money, that's free money, but aid and paying out. I get it. I'm just
Yep.
mentioning that just from the standpoint of there are things that are like this HVAC stuff that are certainly that qualify for a lot of this aid.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that, Jeff. And we're finding actually that most things will qualify for that aid. But I think first and foremost, there's operations sides of things that you probably want to take care of first.
Feel like
Question?
we're raining on Jason's parade a little bit on the financial piece of it. And I know it's
Yeah.
hard to separate the two out, but does anybody have any further specific questions on the
Yep.
subject of the building
Yep.
condition survey? And then we can turn to Jason.
I have a couple. The first one, the extra space, is that the extra space for the pre-K classroom? Did you identify an area within the existing footprint, or this is like an add-on like the other building was before, like the extra classroom that we're using for the special ed right now?
The first two items would be additions, right, Melissa? They're planning
Correct.
additions for those.
Correct. There's no space within the building to accompany
Right.
those two items. They would be building additions.
Okay, so the gym, and that my other question was about the gym. So this is a second gym. Is this because we have a lot of gym bills giving big thumbs up? Is this because we're having a hard time scheduling with the increased requirements for younger students having PE every day and things like that? We want a second gym to give us scheduling flexibility.
So we are maxed out to be able to comply with the state ed regulations on PE. We are doing it, but in some cases we do have to double up classes to be able to do that. So to be able to schedule each individual section and meet the required SED guidance, we would need more space to do that.
Okay, and I just can't visualize what 7,000 square feet looks like. Is that like similar to what our gym is now, or is it a smaller gym for the younger kids? What does that look like?
It's comparable to what you have now. It's a full-size gymnasium.
Okay, thank you.
If it's an SED requirement because we don't meet the standards, is it now aidable? Because gyms are not aidable, correct?
Gyms are aidable.
Gyms are aidable. It's a question that I still have, Bill, with state ed also. That's something we would definitely have to go and talk to your project manager about, because it's going to rely on enrollment numbers and the space that you have now. So they will be surprised that a K-8 school, PK-8 school requires that much gym space, but they will also see a tremendous increase in enrollment. So that's a case that we would have to make. I don't want you to leave tonight thinking we would get full aid for that gym. That's a serious conversation we'd have to have with them. And obviously there's time to have that conversation.
Thank you.
And I would remind the board here, we had a similar conversation at the beginning of this project with SED to recalculate our BAUs. Am I saying that right, Dan?
Yes.
Because we needed to convince them that our population increase warranted further space. So in my mind, it would be a somewhat similar conversation and hopefully have the same desirable outcomes as we did last time around.
And BAU stand for building aid units, Mr. Nevins, because I know you don't like acronyms.
I appreciate that, but I was going to ask, do we have to do another I remember when they did that 10-year out projection of what our maximum occupancy of the school was, and they said after 10 years, it's going to be 300 kids, right?
Yeah.
And we've exceeded that.
Yeah,
No, they said
unfortunately,
They said it was
217.
gonna be- it was
Yeah.
237 or something crazy.
Yeah, it was,
That it was gonna go down.
so
yeah,
the answer is yes. You would have to do an enrollment projection again. And yes, it may be, unfortunately, because of the way state ed wants to see the enrollment projections, it's not going to tell the real story. So we're going to have to do another enrollment projection also that shows exactly what's happening here, not just with live births, but with people that move into this district and your entire population.
Yeah, we won't be using that same demographer.
Other questions about the building condition survey list? A lot to digest. If you have questions, I'm sure you will after the meeting. We're happy to answer them anytime.
So Jason, I'm going to turn it over to you to take it from there.
Okay. Is there a way for, do you want me to share my screen, Maureen, or everybody has a copy of the
All the
report in
board
front of them?
members have the copy of the packet. It should have been right behind the BCS, so you can just go off of that, Jason, if you're comfortable doing that.
Okay, sure. All right. Good evening, everybody. Good to see you all again. Kind of piggybacking off of Dan and Melissa's presentation, they were kind of laying the groundwork for, what are some of the needs you might have in the next few years for potential future building projects and giving you an idea of the magnitude of what those different things might cost. So then we're going to take on the financial side a look at, what might be the right timing for another project with minimal impact to the local taxpayers and what might the size of that project look like as a starting point. Again, just kind of laying out some benchmarks of what might make sense. And then obviously if the district has different needs as far as, different timing or different size of project, then we can always, adjust this report as we work through it over the next few years. But this is just a good, starting point to kick off the discussion. So in the report we have a cover page and a table of contents. And then if you want to flip into page 3, that's where we really kind of start things off. So there's a good amount of information on here in terms of assumptions. I'll just focus on a few critical ones. The top two we'll take together, the building aid ratio and the bond percentage. So again, the building aid ratio we've already talked about a couple times tonight. That is the amount you'll get back from the state on every eligible dollar that you spend in the project. So that's currently 61%. It is estimated to go up a little bit next year, up to 65%, but that's much higher than where you've been traditionally. So until we see that come through, and if we see it continue to trend that way, great. But for now, taking a conservative look, we just went with the current ratio this year, which is a final versus the estimate for next year. So we're assuming 61%. And then the bond percentage is the other thing that plays into it. So again, you might recall from the last project, me talking about that, the bond percentage is out of the total project. How much do we expect to be aidable? So right now for tonight, we've got 92% plugged in there, but that's going to be a big variable in your planning going forward. Because there's a couple of scope items on that BCS, which could bring that bond percentage down if we were to go forward with them. So, the additions, like we talked about, those can be aidable, but it's not a guarantee. We have to go make our case to the state and get some additional building aid units assigned specifically for the addition to make sure that we can, drive some aid on those expenses. If that is unsuccessful, then that could potentially be non-aidable work and could bring the bond percentage down. The other big thing, and we'll get into this in a minute on one of the next pages, but the maximum cost allowance that we have at the building is fairly limited on the incidental side, which again, the incidentals is all of your soft costs like our office, Dan's office, a CM, legal, things like that. But it's also your site work. So even though you think a site work is kind of more of a construction cost, that falls under the incidentals for aid purposes. So parking lots, tennis courts, things like that. If we have too much of that in the project, it could push us over that incidental aid ceiling, which isn't a huge deal. We were over it in the last project, but we just need to account for that and quantify what the impact of it is. So The other kind of key dates, looking at kind of numbers 3 through 6, just timeline, is a starting point. Kind of the ideal timeline for a project is we're trying to hit. We got a drop off in debt service, which you'll see in a minute coming up, and if we kind of back off from there, we would say the ideal timeline for a vote might be somewhere in the December of 24 area. So that would be based off of the assumption of, voting December 24 and then having about a year to design and get SED approval, get out to bid in spring of 25, and then kind of work through construction in the summers of 25 and 26. And that timing would work pretty well with the debt that's dropping off. One thing to consider that we had as part of our pre-discussions with Maureen and Kathy and CSArch is, whether or not a year is enough time for design and SED approval, because, SED can vary from time to time. They're down a few project managers again. So right now the review times aren't awful, but they could, who knows what'll happen. So, if we wanted to build in more time for design and approval to be safe, we could certainly vote sooner. The key is, even if we vote sooner and go and get approval a little quicker, we just don't want to start the work much quicker than this timeline of kind of summers of 25 and 26, or else we could run the risk of having debt service come on before that drop in debt service. So, if we want to build in a little bit more time on that timeline for design and approval, we could always look at a vote earlier in the fall, or even maybe like May of 23. So, there's some options there. Sorry, May of 24. So there's some options there in terms of the timeline, but it's really that timing of construction that we'd want to hit there as far as hitting the drop off in debt service.
Jason, if I could just clarify one thing, we would have to vote in May of 24 to meet a 25 construction schedule.
Yeah, it's sorry, Dan. I just realized I'm trying to bounce back and forth between seeing people
That's
on the
okay.
screen and the presentation. I misspoke. It'd be summers of 26 and 27.
Yeah, 26, 27. Yep.
Yeah, we'll get to the when we get to the page of the timeline in a minute. We can all kind of see that a little bit better. But so those are kind of some of the key timelines. Borrowing rates right now, we have a 4% for note, 5% for bonds. Obviously that's very high in today's market. You guys know you did much better than that on your recent bond sales. So those are conservative rates. But again, we're not talking about borrowings until 26, 27 timeframe. So 5-6 years from now. So we've got that conservatism built in case rates kind of rise over the next couple of years. And then the last kind of big assumption on this first page, number 12, second from the bottom, capital reserve. We have not assumed anything yet at this point in time in this report, but we did discuss with Maureen and Kathy about whether that might be something you want to look into, maybe trying to establish a capital reserve on your budget ballot next year, and then that would give you, potentially 2 to 3 years to try to fund some money into that, which could help, offset if we had some non-aidable costs or needed to do a larger project than we're going to talk about tonight. Those would be some options there. Going to the next page, page 4. So you kind of get the answer to the quiz up front in this case, but basically the size project that we could do for no tax impact, you'll see right here on the revenue and expense breakdown, would be about $8,430,000. So again, on the left-hand side, revenues, we're going to bond all of that. We have no cash coming from the district. And then on the right-hand side, we would want to set aside about $500,000 for capitalized interest, which again, that's what we use to help cover the band payment until the aid starts flowing, so you don't have a 1-year spike in your local share for the project. And then the remaining $7.9 million would be available for construction and incidentals. So when you look at that BCS and you start to look at some of those expenditures, some of the cost of those items, that's what we would be trying to fit into, would be grabbing about $7.9 million of things from that breakdown. So I'll pause there for a second. Any questions on those assumptions real quick, or? Okay, so if not, if you go to page 5 of the report, this is where we show kind of what your existing local share is right now. So you can see, in the middle of the page, column C is your total debt service is about 800,000 a year right now. And then in 28, fiscal year 28, that drops down to 386. So that is really the opportunity that we're looking at, that we want the debt for this new project to come in that 28 year. And then we could basically have about 400,000 a local share on this upcoming project without having any tax increase, because it would just fit into retiring debt service and the timing of that falling off. So on page 5, you can kind of see all the numbers as far as your principal interest building aid, but I think page 6 really helps illustrate it, where you can kind of see the bar chart aspects. So you see 26, 27, you're going on about 335,000 a year. And then it drops down in 28. If we did nothing else, that local share would go away and you'd actually have a slight positive cash flow from your capital side. But what we're going to talk about tonight is kind of filling that in with a new project and what that looks like. Page 7, this is where you can kind of see the timeline. It's a little easier to see it here than from the assumptions page. So you can see we were saying a December of 24 vote, so kind of all the way to the left there, leaving about 13 months for design and SED approval. So we would be saying that we would anticipate SED approval in January of 26 timeframe. So that's where I was misspeaking earlier about the construction schedule. We would want early 2026 SED approval, getting out to bid in 26, and then construction in 26 and 27 there, where you can see the band and the bond coming in. And that timing works out well when we get to the maturity schedule in a minute, to show that the impact of this project would first hit in that 27, 28 year, so that we could fill in that drop in debt service. So that's just kind of a visual representation of some of the assumptions. And you can see again, that's where you kind of see the 13 months on the left-hand side there, the arrows for design and SED approval. If we think that might be cutting it close with how many project managers they have, that's where you start to slide that vote date back and look at, fall of 24 or even May of 24, if you're ready at that point to do a vote. Next page, this is the maximum cost allowance on page 8. So this kind of shows what we have available for us to do projects. So right now we are actually, pretty close to maxed out on the maximum cost allowances, because they do a 5-year look back. So with the old project still in there, trying to do anything right now would be very difficult. But if we get out to a January 2026 SED approval timeframe, that project will have cleared out, and we'll just be looking at whatever project we're talking about at that point in time. So you see on the top yellow highlighted row there, you got about 7.6 million for construction. And then on the second yellow highlighted row down below, you got about 1.7 for site and incidentals. So that's where, things could start to get tight for you. In this initial report, we've assumed a 75-25 breakdown between construction and incidentals. So you can see we got about 1.9 million of the 8.4 is coming from incidentals, and that would be slightly over your aid ceilings there. So about $250,000 that we would expect to not be aidable. And that's where that bond percentage of 92% comes in, is that amount that's over the aid ceiling. So if we were to pick some things that were non-aidable out of the scope list, a lot more site work, or if SED, if the discussions on the additions don't go well, but we still want to pursue it, but it doesn't go well from the aid perspective, then we might see more red on that page, which would mean either the size of the project would go down, we'd have to come up with some more cash, or we're having a tax impact. But we can get into those discussions as we start to hone in more on what your priorities are with the scope. But that, just to give a real quick overview of how that interplays.
Hey, Jason?
Yep.
Quick question on page 7, where it's on the bottom of the page, it said debt service problems. Can you explain what that is, where the aid begins and the building aid begins? It's saying debt service problems. Is that a time when we would not have enough to cover it, or what does that?
Right. That's where we get into that cap eyes. So if we were not able to close out by December, which I'm sure you guys kind of remember from the last projects, it can get pretty tight, the closeout sometimes, right? So we've already built into this this initial report, basically assuming that we're going to offset the interest on that note and the first 6 months of the bond with capitalized interest to make sure that we have that, flexibility that if we can't close out, then we use capitalized interest, which prevents any debt service problems. If we didn't have that built in and we didn't close out in time, then there could be a one-time spike in the local share for the taxpayers. If we get into it and we feel better about the timing, as we did with the last project, then maybe we scale back or eliminate that cap buy and it opens, money in the project budget, but it's kind of built in conservatively to start to make sure we're protected, and then we can kind of see where the timeline goes from there.
Thank you.
All right, so page 9, then the maturity schedule. So just real quick, kind of what this specific project would look like. In column C there, again, you can see we're going to be bonding the full $8,430,000. We pay that back over roughly 15 years to match with the building aid and how that's coming in. So with the interest and everything added on there in the middle of the page, column F, you can see it comes out to about $800,000 a year in debt service, give or take. And then we're expecting to get building aid back of about $411,000 a year based on just this preliminary look at it. So when we get all the way to the right-hand side of the page, net local share works out to be about $400,000 a year for the early years where we have that positive cash flow. And then when that goes away, we drop down to about $337,000 a year, which makes us get a nice smooth local share overall. So when you go to page 10, we take that existing debt from earlier in the report, so that all that same information we looked at on the other page, add in the maturity schedule from the last page, and when it all comes together on the right-hand side, that green column, that's your combined local share from your existing debt plus this proposed project. And when you get to the bar chart on page 11, you can see that keeps that local share nice and steady all the way throughout. So no tax cap problems from your capital exclusion going away, and no spikes or increases to the taxpayers, just kind of steady as she goes with the current budget that you're staying right about what's already built into the budget. So that's where we would get to saying that an $8.4 million project would be no additional tax increase. It would just be replacing existing debt when we go to talk to the public about it. And that's it as far as the report goes. We do have just one appendix page there at the back where you can see your building aid ratios. So again, you see that on the far right-hand columns there, the 61%. That's the current year, 2021. And it is estimated to go up to 65.6% next year, but we have seen those change sometimes between the estimates and the finals. So, conservatively, we'll stick with the 61 for now. If we see that does get finalized at a higher number, between now and when you get further down the road with this project, then maybe we, update for that additional projected aid. But that you can kind of see the tradition, you guys have been lower than that. So we wanted to take a little bit of a cautious approach to that building aid number. So I know that's a lot of information I ran through quickly there. Any questions on any of that, or? Yep, Bill.
Jason, back on the estimated cost project and allowances page, I think it was 8. So the red line exceeds the ceiling of allowable money, but if that's something we can set aside in the next 3 or 4 years of this project getting ahead.
Yeah,
that's
that's already factored into this report, right? That if we had $250,000, of non-aidable costs, we can still do this $8.4 million project for no impact. If you were to set some money aside for that non-aidable cost, then that would help, where potentially you could do a larger project for no impact, because we're gonna, drive some more aid, or I guess not drive more aid, but decrease what we're bonding for. So decrease the debt service, so that, we could put some money aside, and that would potentially help us do a larger project, or offset if there's additional non-aidable scope. But that 252,000 that's on there right now is already factored into these numbers.
And these numbers don't show us giving anything on the school side.
Correct. Yep.
Because I think the last project we had 900,000 going in.
Sounds about right. Yeah,
Right.
somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So that's where we get into that discussion about the scope, that if we do have more non-aidable costs, knowing that we are right up against those site work aid ceilings, and there's some site work on that BCS that we want to do. If we, can set some money aside, that may help us be able to do some of that scope, even if it increases the non-aidable percentage without impacting the taxpayers. Any other questions?
So the only thing I'd add here is, like I said in the beginning, this is the first of many conversations, and we know a lot of things will change. The question came up earlier about the possibility of using ARP funding to accomplish some of these things, and we know from our last time through this, it doesn't move quickly. Our walkthrough that led to the project we just finished was in 2014, and we're just finished, or in 2010 rather. So it will take a while, and there's a lot to be learned. But I feel like we've done proper planning. The timing of the BCS, we know what we've done, we know what we still want to, and in many ways we do, so it positions us well for conversation moving forward. All right, and I'm sure Melissa and Dan and Jason would love to stay for the rest of the agenda, but I want them to feel no obligation to do so.
Thank you, Dr. Long, and nice to see everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Talk again soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep, have a good one.
All right, so our next discussion item is the disaster recovery plan. Board may recall, as part of the recently conducted audit from the Office of the State Controller, which we have yet to receive our final report on, but we know a number of recommendations were made, and we did not want to wait until we got that report to start acting on those recommendations. And one was the development of a disaster recovery plan, should we need it. Which, seeing what's happened to some of our neighbors in the capital region recently, we are well positioned now that we have this. The disaster recovery plan in many ways, though, is like the safety plan that the board also is privy to, but we can share very little information, because by sharing that information, we can compromise ourselves in the safety of our systems. So James Lovett was nice enough to put together an executive summary of that, and that is in your packet. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but certainly if there's any questions or comments, I would welcome those. I'll take it. Silence as no questions. Okay, we can move into the reopening plans. All right, and in the packet next, you're not on mute. I think we're getting a little feedback. Next in your packet should have been page 15 of the original reopening plan, with a green highlighted section. And that section is particular to visitors on campus. So before I open it up for discussion from the board, I know this will be a surprise to many of you, but we have no definitive guidance yet from the governor's office or from the education department if the plans that we submitted last year are really 2021 plans, if they will sunset on June 30th, if they will roll over on July 1st, or if they will be require revisions based on latest guidance. We will see some action later in the agenda to make some revisions based on the most recent guidance, since we still do have 2 weeks left in school. So like I said, I'm not sure what we will have to do moving forward. That said, I want to be prepared no matter what the answer is. I have already had groups reaching out and asking for access to the building as soon as this summer. I would like to be able to resume in-person board meetings and other in-person meetings if possible. Right now, the executive order to extend virtual board meetings ends July 5th. I have a suspicion that the governor's ability to carte blanche make changes may be coming to an end quickly. So the reality might be we have to have our board meetings in person in July, and I want to be prepared to do that. You know, we've learned this from learning this year that doing it virtually is not a substitute for doing it in person. Not that we haven't done an amazing job, and I'm going to speak to that later in the meeting and all the work and effort everybody has done to that. But I think the same holds true for those meetings that we're having around a number of important topics, including our strategic planning, our policy work. We are able to do that work more effectively if we can come together in person. So that said, I highlighted the section in green, which is our current language. I do not feel I can arbitrarily change any language to any reopening plan without input from the constituent groups that we brought on board last year, and that includes our teachers and our parents. And I spoke to all of them this week relative to the one change we will entertain later this evening. So that said, I wanted to open it up to the board for your thoughts and feelings, particular to visitors on campus and what we should be discussing when we pull those constituent group members and our reopening committee back together.
Before we start, are we talking about, you're talking about making a change to the policy, which means it wouldn't just be for the summer if we make a change, right? It would be like going forward. I know you said you're having groups looking at using the facilities in the summer, but if we make a change to the policy, it's a change to the policy. It wouldn't just apply for the summer.
It's not a policy, it's a plan. And remember, the plan was meant to be fluid. So we could change and then we could change back. Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, if there's an outbreak, even if the decision tonight is let's open it up and let everybody in, and then we're back at a 10% infection rate, I'm certainly going to suggest that we return to the table again and change that. So I guess to some extent it's going to be fluid, but then again, we could be told next week that we have to have a brand new plan in place by July 1st.
Yeah, I think looking at this quickly, I think there might be an opportunity to entertain some nuance here in terms of visitors during school hours versus visitors after school hours and building use after school hours. Given the current infection rates and vaccination rates and all that, I think we can be more open to entertaining those kind of things going forward. So I'm in favor of exploring that possibility.
Others' thoughts and suggestions?
Dr. Lang, I was just thinking of, when, if we decide to open it up, like cleaning wise, are we in a good position as a school to be able to handle the level of cleaning that will need to happen?
You're saying if we let outside groups in?
Mm-hmm. Like thinking of the gym, I'm not sure how long our custodian workers are on, or if we've pulled them back a little bit, and are we prepared to take on that level of cleaning again?
I think within reason, yes, we are. We did it before. We have altered some hours a little bit in light of COVID. We could shift those around again. We have some changes coming up in that department moving forward. Certainly, I think we would be strategic and selective about any spaces that we identified. If we had people wanting to use the building, we wouldn't spread them throughout the building and in multiple rooms. We would try to limit the access and the capacity and the travel throughout the building for that, matter, which there's easy access from the school entrance to the gym and to a number of spaces, including the cafeteria and some of the rooms on the main hallway, that if there was a need, I would think we could accommodate it and address the cleaning accordingly. We're doing a full policy review too, and we've talked about some additional obstacles, for lack of a better word, for some groups that may need to pick up some of the cost of those things. And that will become part of the conversation moving forward. But unless there were, large numbers of groups looking to use the space, I'm not that concerned about that, Jen. If it was consistent with the use we had in the past, I feel pretty comfortable that we can accommodate that from a cleaning perspective.
Thank you.
So a question around this. So this is generally dealing with when school is out. Is that what we're talking about? Because we're so close to it being out. Are we talking about this as of like July 1st? I mean, is that what you're talking about? Or are we talking about this immediately or?
Well, again, I'm going to go back to, I don't feel comfortable making an arbitrary decision when very inherent in this planning process was that we involve constituent groups. So
Yeah.
I'll use the change in the mask guidance that came out last week that we're going to act on later in this meeting. Now, I will say, and this is not a judgment, it's just a statement of fact, there are some superintendents who are unilaterally made the decision without involving stakeholders. I was not comfortable doing that. Obviously, it was time sensitive. To pull together a meeting of the reopening committee would have been difficult to act within the timeframes we had. I made it a point to have a personal conversation with every person who sat on our parent group last year and our teacher group last year as part of our reopening committee to make sure it was the consensus of the group that we make that change. So even if we decide to entertain conversation around building use, it's not something I would say would take effect tomorrow. I'm not looking at dragging it off to September either, but I think those people that we brought around the table last year deserve to come around the table again.
Yeah, I only say that from, we have a couple weeks left of school. We'll have little ones in the buildings. They're the group that can't get vaccinated yet. We have older kids that, some of them are getting vaccinated. I think, it was like 25% of kids as of 2 weeks ago were vaccinated across the US and it was picking up. So, and that's for that age group of 12 and above. So when we have that mix or composite of constituent groups of children. So, as far as this year goes, we have a couple weeks left in school, then they won't be in the building. So that makes it a lot safer to me. And then, like you said, talking about compartmentalizing and making it a safe pathway in and out of the building for groups, if that were, I would be willing to entertain that and happy that we could welcome folks back in whatever manner we choose. But I'm not in favor of changing any type of visitor type of policy. With 2 weeks, we've been doing so well so far. We got 2 weeks to go. We got the little ones in the building. This summer, we have staff in the building, we have administration in the building. We certainly want them protected. But I think we're, obviously in lieu of any spike, like you said, in COVID rates, we have that Delta variant now that's getting crazy and it's 10% of all cases. But in lieu of that, I would be willing to accommodate folks coming in. And then the fall, I think, would be a different animal altogether because we're welcoming the students back again. And the circumstances may warrant, no problem. Hey, we're back. Things are good and we need to do X, Y, and Z. Or it may not be good and we have to pivot again. So they're kind of 3 times for me. It's right now to the end of the school year, the summer and the fall, and that's different times for me and different thoughts.
I will remind you, based on your comments too, Jeff, we are bringing back a number of instructional opportunities for kids this summer. So from July 6th through the end of August, we will have some kids in the building daily. In most cases, that will be done by noon, perhaps with one exception, and that's a very limited number. So again, I think that's something we need to take into consideration as we maintain this.
We have different entrances. We can accommodate that. It's a lot smaller group to contain and deal with.
I've heard from 4 of 5 of you.
Unmuted, yeah. Couple things, right? The plan, and Dr. Long mentioned it, and I'm glad to hear she's looking for guidance because the plan says school year, which ends in 9 days. So I don't see the plan actually going forward past the last day of school. I'm in favor of keeping the plan. I think it was an absolute mistake for the state to say anything about masks or changing anything with 3 weeks left of school. What a cluster that was. And it puts more work on the administration in the school. For those of you who don't know, I've been a big proponent since January to push to get kids back into school sport-wise, even if it's just our own kids, let alone outside kids. I was one of the ones that had put a request in for summer use of the building, for that main reason that our main core kids, the 311 13 kids that attend the school, aren't in session in July and August, which we wanted to use the gym space for, obviously basketball training and get kids back into some kind of shape. I don't see changing the visitor on campus thing for the next 2 weeks. If guidance comes out and says the plan is perpetual and it's going to continue the way it is, then I am in favor of changing the visitor policy plan to allow people in after hours. I don't see the need right now to let anybody in the building. It's been working, leave it alone, continue on. If the plan actually ends in 9 days, then so be it, and we can address it moving into the fall if we have to come up with a new plan. But I see no reason in 9 days to change anything. Let it be. Let's change it for the summer and allow activities to happen then. I'm in support of that and have been.
So let me just make sure what I'm hearing is an accurate reflection of what you're sharing. It sounds like nobody is in favor of doing anything before June 24th, which is the last day of session, and potentially June 30th, which is the last day of the school year technically. I think everybody in some way, shape, or form sees some value in, and I'm going to use John's language, taking advantage of the opportunity to nuance the existing language to perhaps allow some flexibility, particularly when kids are not in school. Is that accurate? Am I misrepresenting anybody's thoughts at this point in time?
No.
All right, so with that information, my intent will be this. Certainly we need to continue and wait and see what that guidance will be. And I'm hopeful we will get it sooner than later. I will give it through the end of this week, and I'm going to be honest with you, potentially through the end of the school year, because we got a couple of things going on here in the next 9 days, to bring back together or to plan a meeting of those constituents that were involved in the reopening planning last year, to share your thinking with them and get their feedback. Obviously, then I can provide you information in updates. And I would suspect that this will be a topic of conversation and a discussion item again in July. Does that make sense?
Yes, at least for me. It's like we're all in agreement.
Okay, great.
Just let me clarify really quick. So the actual use of the building then won't be addressed until the July 12th meeting?
There we go. I muted myself instead of unmuted myself. Potentially. And here's what I will say. So we're going to take some retroactive action tonight, and we're going to take that retroactive action because it aligned with CDC guidance, and I was able to talk to folks. So if CDC guidance were to come out between now and January 12th and say you can open your doors to visitors, then I would again engage that constituent group, and I would entertain taking an action retroactively at a board meeting. I am not open to taking action retroactively without CDC guidance to back it up.
You meant to say July 12th.
What did I say, June?
January.
Sorry, I didn't mean January.
All right.
And you know what, to that point, and I'll say it here, I don't think it will apply to any other point on the agenda. You know, we put out all of our end of the year material to our teachers this week. We tried to do it in bits and pieces because they're doing a lot of work and they're really busy and they're doing a great job. But among the things we send out at the end of the year is the club proposals for next year. We ask them, please fill those out. We don't have the guidance yet. We don't know what we're going to be able to do or how much we're going to be able to do, but put those proposals in. So once we get that guidance, we're ready to go.
Sorry, one thing I just thought of that I don't want to reopen this, but the way it's written says school campus, which is inside and outside, and the way we were all talking, we were kind of like had the gym in mind, right? Like when you redo this, the CDC might say it's fine to use outside facilities. That's what they did for the mask guidance, but they might not want people inside. There might be a difference there in the guidance. And just when you're talking to the reopening group, I don't know if you want to those two.
It could very well differentiate. So I think that's a good point. And I have spoken to our other local districts as far as what they are doing. And I hope to get some insight and feedback from them. All right, anything else on our discussion items? All right, Jeff, go ahead and take it from there.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move along to business office for information. Enclosed for the information of the board are copies of the following warrants and a claims auditor report for the month of May 2021. We've got Fund A, warrant numbers 52, 54, 55, and 58 in the amounts of $131,929.36, $11,226.60, $174, and $811.10, and $16,245. Are there any questions or need discussion here on this this information? There's no resolution, but are there any questions about those warrants?
There was a subsequent page about POs being verified. Have they?
Hold on, I'm unmuting. Kathy is sitting behind the screen. Are you on the claims auditor report?
Yeah, with the fund warrants, right? Fund warrant 52 had a memo attached to it that said it was waiting for a PO to be verified. And I believe 54 had two POs that were being verified.
Oh, on the back page, right, Bill?
The claim auditors report 52 had
Which is
one
the-
warrant with ICA funding findings, and then warrant 55, I'm sorry, 55 had two ICA findings, and on the back it said it was waiting for POs to be verified.
Oh, they're confirmed. No, they're confirming.
Confirmed. Okay.
Thanks, Kathy.
Any other questions? All right, we will move along to business office for approval. The budget transfers. Any questions on that discussion? There are none. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the attached budget transfers for May 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. We will move along to the, let's see, we'll do treasurer's report and then we'll do the green sheet. All right, so the treasurer's report. Closed is the treasurer's report for the month of May 2021. Any discussion items, questions?
I just had a question. There was information that came down from the state on the accounting standards change. We have to establish a mandatory debt service fund. Is that something we're looking at, and have we done it?
We actually are in conversation with Amy Pedrick from Weston Company right now with our end of the year audit, and that will address any auditory changes that come down.
Is that something the board would have to approve, setting up a new fund, or is that it'll be recommended and then we'll do it once it's recommended?
Last meeting, you set up a debt service fund.
I didn't see the debt service fund set up. We did that last meeting?
Last
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay, thank you. It's not currently funded, yes?
We establish it and then we fund it.
Thank you.
We need a motion for the treasurer's report then.
Yeah, so we'll move along to the, if there are no other questions, to a motion. I'm sorry, a resolution.
Be it resolved, the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the treasurer's report for the month of May 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries, and now we'll move along to the green sheet. Let's see here. We need a resolution. This is a resolution as a result of the unforeseen circumstances related to COVID. Sorry, it's very small lettering. Related to COVID-19 during the 2021 school year, the following individuals are authorized to roll over vacation days accrued in 2021 school year to the 2021-2022 school year as follows. I'll say, see, Dr. Maureen Long, 7.775 days. Kathleen Seatek, 3.537 days. Jean Menteplee, 0 days. In addition, as a result of unforeseen circumstances related to COVID-19 during the 2020-2021 school year, the following individuals are authorized to sell back unused vacation days accrued in the 2021 school year as follows. They're as follows based on their 2021 daily rate. Once again, Dr. Long, 10 days, Kathleen Seatek, 10 days, Jean Menteplee, 7.75 days. Individuals shall be given the choice of payment for unused days as above through payroll or into their 403B account.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. We will move along to the.
Thank you very much for the board's consideration of that. It's much appreciated.
Okay. We've got an employment agreement. Kathleen Seatek. Questions? If not, there's a resolution that needs to be read.
You want me to do the resolution?
Whoever was next, I'm sorry, I messed everybody up with that green sheet.
That's all right. I second yours. I'll read this resolution in. Discussion, or we're good? Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the employment agreement by and between the Menands Union Free School District and Kathleen Seatek for a period of July 1, 2021 to June 30th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Non-instructional salary schedule. Enclosed is the non-instructional salary schedule for the 2021-2022 school year. Any questions?
I just asked, didn't one of them give notice to retirement in July, but it's still on the payroll schedule, or?
He's not
is that-
retiring until the end of July, so he will get his pay increase for his last 3.5.
Oh, it was the end of July. I'm sorry.
Correct.
Okay, I remember reading that. Thank you.
All right, can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the 2021-2022 non-instructional salary schedule.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Resolution carries. We will move along to revision of reopening plan. We just talked about that, so if there are no other questions, can I get a resolution, please?
It resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the revised reopening plan developed for the Menands Union Free School District for the 2020-2021 school year.
Second.
Before we vote on this, this is not what we were just talking about with the visitors though, right? This is the change for the mask.
No,
Right.
it's the yellow highlighted section of the page that should be next in your packet.
Right, okay, thank you.
There.
Yep, got it, thank you.
So someone read it, did someone second it?
I second.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
ready to vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. We will move along. Contracts for approval. 2021-2022 intermunicipal agreement, licensed clinical social worker, North Colony Central School District. Can I have a resolution, please?
Can I ask a question? Is this in addition to our social worker? Is this a special?
So our social worker is seeking to get her Cs, which is her further certification, which requires supervision from a licensed clinical social worker. Since we do not have one of those, North Colony is assisting us with that.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Long. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the intermunicipal agreement for a licensed clinical social worker services between Menands Union Free School District and the North Colony Central School District for the 2021-2022 school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Solution carries. Let's see here, 2021-2022 intermunicipal agreement, technology services, South Colony Central School District. Are there any questions?
Can I just ask a question? Is this our webpage guy?
Nope, he's through BOCES. Aaron is through BOCES. This is our daily tech support, 4 half days of tech support, our technology teacher at the middle school, and our new piece of the tech director at South Colony.
Oh, the tech teacher. Sorry. I got him confused. Okay. Resolution be it resolved. Oh, sorry.
Go right ahead.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the intermunicipal agreement for technology services between Menands Union Free School District and the South Colony Central School District for the 2021-2022 school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Colony Youth Center before after school care programs. Enclosed for the board is a copy of the agreement with the Colony Youth Center Incorporated. Any questions?
I did really quick.
Sure.
I know they'll accommodate any number of children that need to be in the program before and after care. What is the cost involved in that? And is that a parent cost they pay directly to?
So
the
there's a,
youth center?
yes, and that was part of when we were entertaining different options, Bill. We made sure the costs were in line with what has been the costs in the past. Also, because they are affiliated with the town of Colony, there are some grant opportunities in addition to sliding scales for families who may have a particular need. So there's really a lot of options for our families. It is an out-of-pocket cost to families. It always has been. But in the event that cost is a hardship, there's a lot of opportunities there. And as you mentioned, most appealing to them was not giving us a certain threshold we had to meet, which was problematic this year for a number of our families because we couldn't run program with our previous provider because they made us have a certain number of kids.
Just again, when a parent wants to use the services, they're going through the Colony Youth Center, not through the school. So their rate will be set by them, not the district.
Right, correct.
Okay, yep. Thank you. Is that me?
It's me. Are we ready for the resolution? I did want to say, just
Sorry,
because
Cora.
I asked Dr. Long, it's on site though, like the previous one was. Just wanted to say that for the public. And do they have to do before and after if they do it, or can they pick one? Okay.
No, and they don't even have to do every day of the week, which is an added perk for some of our families.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, thank you, Dr. Long, for getting that option for us. I think that'll help our families out a lot. Thank you. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approve the agreement between the Menands Union Free School District and the Colony Youth Center, Inc. to operate a before and after school care program for the 2021-2022 school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Moving along to Guercio and Guercio LLP Legal Services contract for 2021, 2022. Discussion, any questions? Our law firm? If not, can I get a resolution?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the contract for legal services between the Menands Union Free School District and Guercio LLP for 2021, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Donation. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District accepts the following donation as listed. William Nevins, $150 for the Yearbook Club. Evelyn and Penelope Jaskula, $375 for families in need.
I don't want to second it because I made the donation.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Am I supposed to abstain?
I'll
yeah.
abstain too.
You
I'll
typically,
abstain, I guess. Okay,
So-
then I will abstain.
so it looks like we have 3 ayes, 0 noes, and 2 abstain. Correct? Gotcha. Thank you for those donations. Very helpful. Moving along to number 11, policy. First reading of policies. There's 4 of them. Any questions about those at all, folks? And about the wording, anything? Policy
Looks like
committee.
our policy committee was very busy.
Been busy, hard at work. If there are no questions, can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District, upon recommendation of the Policy Committee, approve the first reading of the following policies. Technology Use Policy, Policy 4526. Instructional Technology General Use, Students and Staff Members, 4526.1. Student Access to District Computer System Resources, 4526.3. Internet Safety, 4526.5.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Personnel matters, modification of end dates of probationary appointments. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District modify the end dates of the following probationary appointments. Are there any questions? If not, can I get a resolution? And that was due, I believe, for a clerical error, Dr. Long, just in needing to move them back. They were, or move them ahead, what have you.
Correct. The end date in accordance with New York State education law should always be August 30th for a September start date, and they were inadvertently put on for June 30th at the end of the school year. This is just correcting that clerical error.
Okay, can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District does hereby modify the end date of the following probationary appointments in accordance with the New York State education law. Heather Aragona from June 30th to 2021 to August 31st, 2021. Gina Slyer from June 30th, 2021 to August 31st, 2021. And Alexandra Malkowitz from June 30th, 2021 to August 31st, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. We'll move along to 10-year recommendations. Looks like we have 3 of them.
And just so the board knows, all 3 ladies are on the meeting tonight as attendees and have been waiting very patiently. Exciting discussion.
All right, first one, 10-year recommendations. Heather Aragona, the education of children with handicapping conditions, education of speech and hearing handicapped children. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District grant tenure to Heather Aragona in the education of children with handicapping conditions - education of speech and hearing handicapped children tenure area effective September 1st, 2021. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District grant tenure to Heather Aragona in the education of children with handicapping conditions, education of speech and hearing handicapped children tenure area effective September 1st, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Congratulations, Heather. They can see us, but they can't hear, and they can hear us, but we can't see them, but congratulations, well earned. The second one, Gina Slayer, teaching assistant, is the superintendent's recommendation that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District grant tenure to Gina Slayer in the teaching assistant tenure area effective September 1st, 2021. Can I get a resolution, please?
Is it Slayer or Slyer?
Slyer.
Slyer, okay. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District grant tenure to Gina Slyer in the teaching assistant tenure area effective September 1st, 2021. Congratulations.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jump the gun. Any objections? Resolution carries. Congratulations, Gina. Well earned. All right. I'm going to butcher this last name. How do you say it, Dr. Long?
Alex Malkowitz.
Yeah.
Malkowitz.
Gotcha. I didn't want to say it wrong. So Alex Malkowitz, Elementary Education, is the superintendent's recommendation that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District grant tenure to Alex Malkowitz in the elementary education tenure area effective September 1st, 2021. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District grant tenure to Alexandra Malkowitz in elementary education tenure area effective September 1st, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Congratulations, Alex. Well earned for everybody.
Again, I echo my congratulations and my thanks to all three of those ladies for the work they have done and will continue to do with the district. And if they want to hop off the meeting now, I am not opposed and we will not take offense. Thank you for your patience and thank you for everything you do for our kids and for our school.
All right, we have unpaid leave of absence. Sarah Maldonado. Yeah, Maldonado. I got it right.
Maldonado.
All right. Elementary teacher, Sarah say again,
Maldonado.
Oh, I'm having problems tonight. Sorry. Just got out of a car for 4 hours. Has requested to take an unpaid leave of absence for the remainder of her 12-week FMLA period from June 14th, 2021 through June 30th, 2021. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the unpaid leave request from Sarah Maldonado from June 14th, 2021 to June 30th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution carries. Maldonado. There we go. All right, summer appointments, summer instructional. Are there any questions at all? If there are no questions, can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve summer instructional staff in accordance with the MAT contract and per the attached summer instructional salary schedule.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution carries. We'll move along to extended school year principal. Can I get a resolution, please?
And this is for the summer program.
In particular, Jen, for the ESY program, because it is a required 6-week program.
Okay. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District appoint Megan Amatrano as principal for the extended school year program with no additional remuneration.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries.
Miss Amatrano is on as an attendee tonight too, and I'd like to thank her for her willingness to take on that added responsibility.
Okay, moving along, professional and curriculum development projects. Are any questions on that? If not, can I get a resolution?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve professional and curriculum development projects in the district not to exceed 350 hours in accordance with the MAT contract. All hours will be submitted and approved via timesheets.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Now we have Board of Education matters. CSE, CPSE recommendations. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the CSE, CPSE recommendations as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Wildwood School Agreement for Services 2021-2022 extended school year and regular school year. Enclosed for the board is a copy of the Wildwood School Agreement for Services contract for the 2021-2022 school year. Questions? If not, can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the agreement for services between the Menands Union Free School District and the Wildwood School for the 2021-2022 school year as per the attached agreement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution carries. Let's see, Crossroads Center for Children, Special Education Services Contract 2021-2022, regular school year. Enclosed for the board is a copy of the Crossroads Center for Children contract for special education services for one student for the 2021-2022 school year. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the contract between the Menands Union Free School District and Crossroads Center for Children for the 2021-2022 regular school year as per the attached agreement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Parsons Children and Family Center, Agreement for Services 2021-2022, Extended School Year Program and Regular School Year. Enclosed for the board is a copy of the agreement between the Menands Union Free School District and the Parsons Child and Family Center. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the agreement for services between the Menands Union Free School District and Parsons Child and Family Center for the 2021-2022 school year as per the attached agreement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. North Colony Central School District Special Education Services Contract 2021-2022 Extended School Year Program. Enclosed for the board are copies of the 2021-2022 Special Education Services Contract from the North Colony Central School District for students attending the Extended School Year Program. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the 2021-2022 Special Education Services Contract from the North Colony Central School District for the Extended School Year Program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Health Services Contract. Enclosed, please find copies of the 2020-2021 Health Services Contracts for students attending private or parochial schools in the following school districts: East Greenbush Central School District, 6 students in the amount of $5,231.70. Lansingburg Central School District, 2 students in the amount of $1,293.86. In the North Greenbush Common School District, 2 students in the amount of $448.92. The residence of students has been verified. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the 2020-2021 health services contracts for students attending private or parochial schools as listed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution carries. Clubs, sports, mentoring, and other stipends. It is requested that the board approve the attached revised list of staff member compensation during the 2020-2021 school year for work performed outside of the regular school day as per the MAT contract. Can I get a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the attached revised list of staff member compensation during 2020-2021 school year for work performed outside of the regular school day as per the MAT contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution carries. Moving along, substitute teachers fully cleared. Can I have a resolution, please?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Menands Union Free School District approve the following substitute teachers for the 2020-2021 school year as listed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution carries. We have student matters. Class size update was as of the 7th. Let's see here. It looks like 313 students, in person 226, virtual 87, and the incoming kindergarten class is up to 33 already. Move along to superintendent's comments. It looks like there are several.
Sorry, that's been a long meeting already. I will go through them quick, but give them the attention they deserve. COVID-related funding and planning, it's something I spoke to at the last meeting. I've been providing the board some updates. I know a number of you have been participating in opportunities to learn more through NISPA and through other organizations who are doing a plethora of webinars and sending out a lot of information. The biggest pot of money that we know we have coming our way is the ARP money, and is the one where we have very little to no details about the application process. And as I've mentioned to the board before, our intent is to be strategic and do a couple of things. We're going to have 3 pots of money we're working out of, in addition to the increased foundation aid we had last year, and opportunities to make certain purchases through BOCES, which will generate revenue. And we want to make sure all of the things that we are looking at doing as possibilities, and there's been a lot of internal conversation about what that is, are going into the right pots to maximize the dollars available to us. To that end, because we don't have the definitives around the ARP plan, we had the opportunity to defer our initial application for the CARES Act, or what they're calling the SRSA money now, through July 15th. It was prudent of us to do that because I would hate to put something in that plan that would better serve us if it sat in the other bucket of money, as I'm referring to it. So we've got that extension. I am cautiously optimistic we will get the definite information we need relative to the ARP funding or the American Recovery Plan funding by week's end. And then we'll be able to present the board with more definitive information, and more than that, our community. So we are looking at the possibility, and I know people are busy this time of year, but this is all time sensitive, very much like we did our reopening forums last year. We are looking at doing a public forum as soon as next week to at least let people know where we're thinking of spending those monies. You heard earlier tonight that some of that could be earmarked for some of the improvements on the building conditions list. If there is a tremendous need and aligns there. I want to be cautious of that if we're going to forego aid by doing that, if they are things that can wait. And I'm going to be honest with you, when we bring you that initial plan, it is going to be heavy on the instructional and the social emotional side and less so on the facility side, because we just did do a significant amount with facilities. The other thing I think it's important for you to know, and it will be reiterated to our broader community, is these are plans and they are grant funded. They are meant to be fluid, and as such, they have parameters built in to be able to massage them, for lack of a better word, and do amendments as we go. And in particular, we're looking at this funding in some cases lasting as long as 3.5 years. So the reality that changes will occur during the process are there. So more to come, but I just wanted to get on record as saying we are looking at closely on how and what we can spend it on. We're hoping for more definitive guidance to be able to establish that, bring it to our community as a draft as soon as next week, and bring it to our board hopefully in July. But I'd entertain any comments or questions on that as well. Okay, latest pre-K information. Again, and this came up, I know a number of you were at the PTA meeting the other night, and this was a topic of conversation among a group of people who are very interested in learning more. We do have monies available to us. They are allocated on a per pupil basis. I said at the PTA meeting, and I'll say it now because I don't want to raise false hopes. I will remain optimistic we will get something in place for the fall, but I cannot guarantee that at this point in time. We are once again partnering with our neighbors in North Colony to look at how we can harness our funds collectively. And one thing they have a little bit of that we don't is space that could help us as well. And we have met with some providers. I said again at PTA, we will not, with the funding available to us and the space available to us, the reality is we can't fund a full program in-house. We will work with an outside provider, which is not atypical and is actually the more common practice in the region for those that have pre-kindergarten. We actually have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. The individual from SED who oversees pre-K programming, and that's a collective meeting with us in North Colony to learn more about what we might be able to do collectively. And we have spoken to some independent providers who are very interested in working with both of us. So I am hopeful by the end of this week, we will know more. And as soon as we know more, even if it's a little bit more, we will get it. We will push out a communication to our community in hopes of getting it out to our pre-K families who aren't here yet. And again, once we have that planning in place and have more definitive information, we'll open up a public conversation to those folks who want to know more about that. Go ahead, Bill.
I don't want to take away or make the meeting any longer. Just if, and I know there's a lot of moving parts involved to make a fall happen. If that's not an option, is a half-year program something starting in January, something to look at or talk about?
Absolutely, and it doesn't even have to be January if we could pull it off, say, by November, Bill. But part of that, the caveat to that is the allocation is a per pupil allocation, $5,400 per student for up to 20 students. If we don't, and it's got to be a full day 4-year-old program. Do the math, that really doesn't calculate, but that's a conversation for another day. If we don't hit 20 students, amount gets prorated. If we don't start in September, that amount gets prorated both accordingly. Anything else on that?
You're on mute.
We have been working with the village. I've provided some updates to the board. Actually, a number of our teachers, some of whom received tenure tonight, have been very active in this conversation as well. The village, in conjunction with us, the Upper Hudson Library System, and our Menands Public Library, and Cahoes is helping out too, will be erecting at some point this summer. We got a little waylaid, but we're back on track now. What's called a story walk, and it is a series of kiosks that will be on our nature trail just off of our school property, and each of those kiosks will hold the pages of a storybook. The intent is to swap those stories out every month. We actually are hoping to have a Menands after-school club of students who will be responsible for a lot of the work that goes into that starting in the fall, and are happy to report, though we don't have a grand opening date, it should be sometime in the near future. First book that will be featured in the story walk is by our recent author visit, Ty Allen Jackson, When I Close My Eyes. And he was actually nice enough, again, with the help of our teachers, to reach out to him. He actually recorded himself reading the book. There will be QR codes placed on each of the kiosks. So if people have their phone, they can take it out, and actually, as they are standing there with their kids, he will be reading the page to them. So really excited about that and the opportunities it will bring for our kids now and into the future. A little bit of a bittersweet moment. I want to take a minute here to acknowledge Mrs. Wilson. This is her last board meeting with us. She will be sorely missed. She has brought a voice of reason, a calm, her experience as an educator and as a parent to the board, and it's incredibly beneficial to us, to our students, and to our school community. Large shoes to fill. I want to thank you for all you have done over the years, even prior to your board service as a PTA member for us here at Menands. Thank you very much, Jen.
Thank you, Dr. Long.
We're all smarter because of you, Jen. Thank you for your service. We do appreciate it. I remember the day that you and I had that first conversation about joining the board, because you came in a midterm because someone was moving out of state, and yeah, I was very excited when you said that you were going to join us, and I can't thank you enough for your counsel and for your words of wisdom, your steady hand, and all your years as an educator. You've helped this board and this community a great deal, and you'll be sorely missed.
Thank you, Jeff.
You can't go.
I don't
And I'm
think
sure-
my husband will agree.
I had my great thoughtful comments for later on. Am I saying it now? I have a whole
Sure.
list of great thoughtful things. I don't want to step on the superintendent's list, but if we're all chiming in and we're all going to get teary-eyed, now's the time.
Go right ahead.
Go ahead.
And yeah, right. Thank you, Jen, for your time on the board and what you do for the community. I had the same echoing of Jeff and Dr. Long, what they say. What I've learned from you and what I will miss the most is your thoughtfulness on tough decisions. You put a lot of time and effort into a lot of those decisions that we have to make, and not all of them are easy. And I appreciate your insight as a teacher on those. And I think we'll miss that the most, as not having a teacher on the board. But as a friend and community member, I will miss you. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. I'm only a phone call away.
I've already taken you out of my phone.
Don't say that. You'll be on a committee tomorrow.
Well, I guess I'm up next. I reiterate everything everyone said so far. Your thoughtfulness, your expertise are invaluable to this board and will be sorely missed, as will your friendship and counsel as we've navigated these waters. And as I said before the meeting started, you roped me into this however many years ago, and I'm not happy that you're leaving before me. So thank you again for your service, and thanks for being a phone call away as we navigated this. So thanks.
Yes. Thank you, John.
Jen, I'll be short. I haven't known you as long as the others, but I'll miss you. I'm excited about Andy joining us. I think she'll be a great addition, but I will miss you as well, and I want to thank you for your service. So hopefully we keep seeing you around.
Thank you. Can I respond really quickly, or would you like me to wait to the end? Okay. Um, I just first wanted to thank the residents of Menands for entrusting me in this position. I absolutely love Menands, always have, and I saw this as a way to give back to the community that has given so much to my children. Dr. Lyons, I get all emotional. It's been quite a few years. But thank you, Dr. Long, for we came in together, and just your steady hand, the ability to talk to you about anything, and for putting the children of Menands first always. And to Jeff, I have been under your leadership as our board president all of these years. I have learned so much from you. I know you said you've learned from me, but your wealth of knowledge is invaluable to the board. So I thank you for that and your friendship. And Bill, I'm gonna loop the three of you together. It has been a pleasure to serve with you, honestly. And I think what I most appreciated is we all do have very different personalities and strengths and sources, and we've always gone behind closed doors and have respected each other and have had hard conversations, but just respected what we each had to bring to the table. And so I've learned so much from each and every one of you. So thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
That's a tough one to follow, Jen.
Yep.
And my last comment tonight is, what a year it's been. I don't think any of us sitting here listening to this call, any of our teachers, any of our students, any of our staff, if you'd asked them 5 years ago, what 5 years from now would be like, they never would have pegged what happened this year. And I guess I just can't say thank you enough to everybody, to the board for their support during this year, to our incredible faculty and staff and everything they have done this year, for our parents, for their understanding, their patience, their cooperation, and to our kids. It's been a difficult year for them. I put in the update this week, and I thought back to getting on the board meeting when we had our parade last year. And that was a tough statement to get through, that was a good day in Menands, and I'll bring it full circle to this past Friday in our field day. What an amazing, incredible thing that we were able to pull that off. And I say we, and I had nothing to do with it other than to go out and take a couple of videos. And that couldn't have happened without all of those groups of people that I just mentioned right now. It was one of the most, for lack of a better word, normal days we have experienced here in Menands in a really long time. And we wouldn't have been able to get there or through this year or to graduation next Thursday without the collective efforts of everybody I just mentioned. So truly a heartfelt thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Long. Move along to principal's comments. Mrs. Canavo.
Good evening. Thank you for having me again this evening. I would like to start by talking a little bit about evening of the arts. That was Tuesday, May 18th, the same night as our budget vote. A special thank you to Mrs. Testo and Mrs. Hayes, and to the Board of Education. I think the evening of the arts presentations were a good synopsis of what our students have been able to accomplish over the course of this school year, even though it had to look quite different and they had to overcome a lot of obstacles. But I know that Mrs. Testo and Mrs. Hayes were incredibly grateful that the district continued to value and do what we needed to do in order to make the arts stay alive over the course of this past school year. So thank you to them for their hard work. It was really quite a beautiful display of the work that they were able to do with our kids. And I thank them very much for doing that. The second one is the author visit.
Jen, can I interrupt you for 1 second? Sorry,
Yeah, of course.
You can tell Mrs. Testo behind me, I have showcased Kaylee's K. So we do appreciate everything that they did.
Absolutely. I don't know what we would have done without our letters in the hall, right? Like, I mean, our 8th graders, it's their tradition. They love it. So, thank you for helping us do whatever we had to do to make that happen this year. Our second event that we recently had was the author visit. Ty Allen Jackson joined us on May 28th virtually. He was able to meet with all of our students, both in person and remotely. He read one of our books. He read one of his books, When I Close My Eyes. That's the one that will be featured on the story walk. And then he also had an opportunity to talk a little bit about its process, or to talk just about what it means to be an author. And the kids had some great questions. They were great sessions. Mrs. Ford and Mrs. Malkowitz really did quite a bit of work to pull that off and make it happen. They did all the behind the scenes work, and it was really quite a great day for the kids. Dr. Long referenced Field Day on Friday, June 11th. It was an amazing day. It's like the universe knew that we needed it. The weather couldn't have been better to be out on the field. Ryan and Shira, Mr. All and Mrs. Bettinger, they really worked hard to create events that allowed us to stay within our plan and keep kids safe, but also have a blast. They got to do things from the shoe kick, which looked incredibly simple, but was a hit and got lots of laughs as they kicked their shoes as far as they could on like football base looking lines. They got nice and wet with the leaky cup challenge, and got down on the field and did walk the dog, which I have to tell you, I hope that that comes back next year, because I think if parents can be there, they will crack up. They had a hula hoop and a ball, and they're trying to get it down the field. It was a race, so they had a lot of fun. So thank you to Ryan and Shira for putting that together, and then also all of our teachers that support the kids throughout that day. It's a really fun day, but it can also be a really overwhelming day for some of our kids. So our teachers do a really nice job of supporting the kids and making sure they have what they need over the course of the day. Next up, we have our kindergarten moving up ceremony. That will be Tuesday, June 22nd. It will be virtual for our families. We will stream it for them on Facebook Live and then post it later on our YouTube channel. But that will occur on Tuesday morning, and we'll get to see all of our little kindergartners. And it's just incredible to see what they looked like when they first came to us, and now they're little people, and they're very excited for their day with their teachers. And then last but not least, on Thursday, June 24th at 6:30, we have the opportunity to honor our 8th grade graduates, which is always such an incredible event and a big deal in Menands. Thank you to Lisa Ball. She's been the class advisor who has worked really closely with us to put this together and figure out all the details and really work with our families. I know that it's not going to be maybe a traditional graduation, and we have to limit the number of people that we can have, but our kids are going to have an incredible graduation and celebrate their accomplishments, and we look forward to that evening with them. Thank you.
Jeff, you're muted.
Thank you, Mrs. Canavo. Moving along, we have informational material, a couple items. The 24th of June, Thursday, is the last day of school. The 24th is also graduation for the 8th graders at 6:30 p.m., as well as July 12th, Monday, is our reorganizational board meeting at 6:30 p.m. On to miscellaneous. Does anybody have anything, or actually informational? Is there anything else that we need to add in there that was not mentioned? Okay, miscellaneous. Anybody have anything?
I had a few things. I already did my my crying goodbye to Jen, so I'll move on to the other stuff. I think I mentioned, if not last meeting before, maybe about addressing the smoking signs on campus as the village was making the marijuana change, add and vape change to all their signs on the parks. I didn't know if we had looked into that or what the thought process was on that.
I have not heard back from council on that, Bill, and I would suspect we're going to have some other signage. So, we'll loop it around and try and get that all done in one fell swoop.
Thank you. No APPR this year, right? Teachers, I'm sure already know that.
That is correct.
We don't have to do anything because that was specifically in the reopening plan. Does the board need to take action or do anything on that?
No, regulation supersedes any board action that's required, and it was
Awesome.
done through legislative action.
Yep. Okay. The the NISBA Summer Law Conference. I can't do the virtual one, so I was going to attend in person. Does Jean sign me up for that? I think it's July 20th.
You can reach out to Jean and she'll help you through that.
Perfect. Jeff, were you going this year?
I have to look at my calendar. I
Okay.
know there was something that was done at their fall conference, a pre-law conference, and I got their PowerPoint from that. So I still, because obviously a lot of laws changed, I will probably be attending in some
Okay.
fashion.
And last thing, was there an update on how the building substitute had worked out this year and the plan going forward? We're going to continue that?
So that was in the budget for this year, and, you know, I don't want to get too far down a hole. I told you we'd be having conversations too about what the additional funding would be used for and how it could support things. You can expect conversation in that regard too, when we get to the conversation.
Nah, not necessarily the funding, and I saw it in the budget, and I was, the whole aspect of having one. The ability to call on someone that's in the building that knows students or not, that's still a positive thing and something we want to move forward with. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All set, Bill? Okay. Courtney?
I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the Menands Baseball League. I know it's a community league and not a school sanctioned or a school event, but in addition to our regular community volunteers, we had a number of teachers and staff members who volunteered their time, who were there, 2-3 times a week, whether they were coaching teams or helping out with some kids who maybe traditionally haven't done organized sports, and it was great for them to have that opportunity. We had teachers who were there on Saturdays just visiting with some of their students, and it was awesome to see their involvement. So thank you to everybody who helped make that happen this year.
Shout out to Evie and Penny.
Thanks, Bill.
Anyone else?
I guess I would just like to say one more time, a thank you to the staff and teachers and everyone that worked together to get through this year and to make it as good as they possibly can. And a special shout out again to Miss Ball for all the work that she's done to prepare our children for graduation.
Thanks, Jen. Anybody else? All right, I'll go. A couple housekeeping items first. Our super eval assessment for Dr. Long, please complete those. I would say by the end of the month. I mean, earlier, I think we put in a date of, I think, the 15th, but if we can get that done by the end of the month, then it'll allow me to do a composite and such fairly quickly, and we can move along and tidy that up. Also, a question for Jean around reaching out to Andy, our new board person, as far as orientation, any checklists and such. Just want to make sure that's in process. I corresponded with Andy to let her know that we would be doing that. So just, I guess, making sure that we move that along.
Actually, Jean made an initial contact with her Friday, and she was invited to and was on for quite a bit of the meeting tonight. So that is in process.
Okay, great. Thank you. One thing I had around the listing of things that are happening this summer, and I'm sorry if I've not, thoroughly gone through the website. I just wanted to make sure that we had either a calendar or a list of things that we're offering to our families, because it's an atypical summer around kind of the summer school and some of the offerings that we're doing, just to make sure that all parents are aware of what's happening and what's available to them.
So I will tell you, Jeff, that the opportunities we have this summer are specific and by invitation only. So there's been direct outreach to every single family. And we had asked folks to respond to us on their invites by close of business on Friday. As usual, we have a couple people who we hadn't heard from. So we're in the process, actually, Liz Mentiply, Ms. Canavo's secretary, was doing again direct outreach today. And we expect to have that wrapped up, but the numbers were very positive and very encouraging. And in particular of note is a number of our kids who have been remote for the full year, which was one of the groups we were targeting. the response to come and participate has been very positive.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Last thing I would say, I know several people have mentioned thank yous and such during COVID to everybody. We're coming off obviously a very atypical year through COVID and such, and I really just wanted to send a special thank you to the staff and the teachers, particularly, you know, for all of your work to completely really redefine how you educated and taught our children this year. I mean, it's nothing short of a miracle about what was done this year, and I just want to thank you for that. And then what you continue to do. We still have time to go. We have this summer. You know, for all the setbacks that we had, all the victories, all the small things, all the great stuff that's happened, all the bad stuff, you guys weathered it all, and I just wanted to take an extra thank you for really just redefining how you taught our kids this past year. It's really just a monumental task that you guys took on, and I can't say thank you enough for all that, for what you continue to do for our kids in our community. So thank you. Anybody have anything else?
One last thing, I'll follow up, Jeff, your last comment, and Dr. Long, you were mentioning about the summer programs directly. So these are children that have been identified that need some more help. Is this a typical year, or is this because of COVID year?
So I would say both, Bill, to that. We had historically had summer programming for our students that wasn't required. We were unable to do that for the last 2 years, 2 years ago because of construction and last year because of COVID. So I would like to think we are reinstating what we have done in the past, but on steroids. And, you know, where we used to have one program called Summer Institute, you recall from a couple board meetings ago, Jen and Megan presented to you, we really have 4 distinct opportunities this year for kids. One is more synonymous with what would have been our Summer Institute. We're calling that Tiger Learning Lab. We have our extended school year program we're able to do in-house for some of our special ed students that require full year programming. In the past, we've had to send them elsewhere. We are doing a dedicated middle school program directed specifically at students who are in danger of not moving on to the next grade without some summer assistance. And then the last one is through the Title III grant consortium with Quest R3 BOCES, and that is specific to our English language learners.
Thank you. It's a great thing that we're doing for the community members, right? The children that need that. I think it's wonderful. And I need to apologize to Jeff and everyone that just heard everything he just said. I didn't mean to ask the question after he just gave that grateful, heartfelt thanks to everyone in the community. Please excuse me for not asking the question when he mentioned it, to take away from his acknowledging the staff and everyone in the district. I concur with everything he said on that aspect. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Anybody else have anything? All right, we will move along to public comment. Please note, during the public comment sessions, members of the community may address the board on agenda and non-agenda items. The board president may limit remarks of individual speakers to a reasonable time, and speakers must identify themselves and the topic on which they would like to make remarks. We do appreciate everyone's cooperation. And I'm not seeing anything on chat or email. It's refreshed a couple times. So that's all I have, and it looks like nobody else is. I'll just check the chat real quick. Nothing there. All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Jen, why don't you do that?
I make a motion to adjourn.
If we don't second, does that mean she can't leave?
Excellent point, Courtney. Everybody turn their computer off now.
All right, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you again.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Thanks.
Bye,
Have a good
guys.
night.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye-bye now.